Episode 2. Put it all back together. Got to remove the wood that's in here. There's a piece of oak that runs all up in here to attach the headliner and upholstery stuff too. I forgot about that, but I'm going to try to use it to my advantage. Since it's already here and I cannot get it out, I'm going to try to pull it out of the way, cut around it, and then use it to help line up the top pillar. Super genius. This is where I need that second person. Park that right there. That's what we want. Oh yes, I look bitching already. Now to line it all up. So I need to cut this section here. Now I got to cut it here and move this whole piece forward. However, you see the body line cruises in just an upward arc. So I can't just cut it up like here and move it over. I got to cut it below this belt line so it doesn't move, and then reattach over here somewhere. I'm going to try to work my head around where to cut it so it's going to be the least amount of pain and anguish. Just a big puzzle. So I'm thinking I'll leave this piece here. It's nice and flat. And it's got to line up with this. So if I cut it right here in the corner, then I can just move this over here and re-weld this right to the bottom. And then just a matter of something like that, right there into the corner. And then just reap. Perfecto. Time for a new blade. Brief intermission.
So visit our refreshment center now. Let's go!
We're happy to have you with us this evening and want you to enjoy every minute of your stay here.
And now, on with the show.
Oh, fuck me. Safety first, kids. Safety first. Ooh, that's hot. Come on, Noah. That ain't gonna work. What are you doing? What are you doing? Sometimes my own worst enemy. I mean, after all, this is all supposed to be fun, right? That wasn't even attached. Well, that'd be a lot easier. So what I figured out, this piece here, the roof skin is just tack welded to this bar here. So now I took and cut this piece off. So if you can go and find these spot welds and break them out or drill them out, then this whole thing comes out in one piece, and that'll make it a heck of a lot easier to move forward. I wish I'd known that in the first one, but that's why I'm here. So I've been monkeying around with this thing, trying to get things aligned. We are getting close. Got the back all clamped in place, just need to do a little final fitment. Moved my chain hoist to the front here, as you can see with that bar there, and I gotta say, this makes aligning things up about 1,000,000 times easier, and I really cannot recommend it enough. So now to just fit the gaps a little bit better, we're off a little bit. You can see we're off by about 1/16 of an inch from side to side. So I need to get the gap as tight as I can, and then I'll tack it in place. And it's just a matter of, you know, cut and splice to line things up a little bit. This is actually a pretty easy one. In a lot of cases, you can take and cut a slit up here and move this over, or same with down here, like the Mercury's you have to. But with this being so slight, I'm just going to tack it across here. Then I'll run my saw through this line here and then move it around and line everything up. I think that'll be the easiest route. And then we'll have to make this filler panel here. So we're getting there, making some progress. Oh yeah, did I mention how awesome that is? Just so you know, it is called a chain fall or a hoist. You can get it for, I don't know, $100. Not really to pretty much any of your rafters or whatever, but I mean, it really does make things so much easier. Luckily, when I built my shop here, I had them put in what we call a big ol' ass beam, and I got a hoist over there I can use. I've picked motors up with that, and it really is super useful. Just fitting things up here. That is the type of joint we want, except for I food barred it right there a little bit, so I got to fill that in. But this is nice. And up here, I use my chain fall to line this up. So I put the hacksaw blade on it. It is right in the same plane of where we want. This is the beauty of using the chain fall. Just let me show you. It moves in very incremental amounts. I mean, very, very slightly. You know, I can move that thing a 32nd of an inch at a time. So, like I said, pretty handy. So what I'm going to do is this is the piece that went up inside here. So that's all broke free, broke it off the bottom there. I'm going to move that forward and weld it back to the front piece where it belongs. And then that will in turn line everything up where it needs to be. And then I can just scoot back where this piece mounts. And it'll be like nobody was ever here. All this is part of the, well, not only the brace, but it's got a part of the tack strip for the upholstery. So it's really unimportant that it's moved forward 3 inches. Nobody will ever know. I'm going to go ahead and get rid of all this since we don't need it. It's totally in the way once I weld the top on. Oh, little magnet. Beep. Ready to weld. It's amazing how much work goes into just a tiny little hole. Holes are the hardest to deal with. Well, that's as good as it gets. Let's move on to other things. So now I'll just take some time and line everything all up, and I'll drill holes in this rail and then rosette weld to this inner structure here, and then start tacking the back in and hopefully weld it in by the end of tomorrow. So I'm going to go ahead and start tacking around here so I can start to get some structure to it. It's kind of a hard thing to clamp. Everything's a funky shape, so it's either you screw it together or you tack it together. So I'm going to tack it so then I can get angry because it's wrong and then undo it later, but it's a process. The ground clamp helps. Need to hurry up and get this thing done it's registered at the Lone Star Roundup as a featured car, so I got to have the chop done, let alone have my car there, and possibly another one. No stress. So you definitely want to spend some time to get your gap as close as possible. This is 025 wire, and I'm using the smallest tungsten, the red tungsten that I can find. I don't know what the size is, but it's not much thicker than this. You know, so the smaller the rod, the tighter the gap, the less cleanup, less distortion. You do not want to go and start MIG welding your roof when you're chopping it. Regardless of what you see on the internet or the YouTubes, that's not acceptable. If you don't have a TIG machine, use a gas. That would actually work a lot better than MIG. MIG is just a disaster. Don't do it. Forgot I was supposed to be doing a time lapse on this. I guess that's not going to turn out. So I've owned a couple of 36s over the years. The first one I had was a four-door sedan that I bought from some little farm about 30 miles away. And I was just going to do a cool little lowrider with it, and a friend of mine had convinced me that we could turn it into a roadster. You know, and after kind of thinking about it for a while, it's like, hell, why not? So I actually borrowed his English wheel and scoured the ham to figure out how to do metal shaping. This was literally one of the very first things I did to this complexity. And welded the back door shut, cut the back end of the car off, and basically scratch built everything. Built the deck lid, you know, everything you see in the back of the car, tops of the doors, the cowl, and on and on and on. This was my daily driver for 2 years. Sold that one, and went a second go at it and bought a two-door slamback sedan. And this time, you know, I actually went and found a 5-window coupe that my friend had and built like a skeleton or like a buck off the back of his car. Came home, welded that onto what was left of my sedan, and basically built the car. The back of it consists of about 27 different pieces, and you know, it really was just a matter of one little tiny piece at a time. And you know, after working this thing for about 2 years it took me to build it, ended up selling it because the kids wanted to go on a Disney cruise, and apparently they're really expensive. So no big deal. But I finished the car in a more of a hot rod style, and then sold it. The current owner has taken the car and painted it. It did more of a, you know, Westergaard style, you know, custom on of it. But you know, they painted it and redid everything. It's absolutely a gorgeous car. But yes, I indeed built that car. All the sheet metal work, chassis, all that kinds of stuff on it. So if you can dream it, you can build it. You just got to have enough gusto and, well, some raw stupidity, and you can do about anything you want. Yeah, note to self, don't strip paint in the shop. God, what a mess. Don't forget the cheater lens so I can actually see what I'm doing. Hell yeah, much better. Let's weld. Before I get too ahead of myself, I want to get everything tacked in place better and then square it up and spend the rest of the day welding pretty much. It's a matter of double check, triple check, quadruple check, because you don't want a crooked ass chop. The hacksaw is awesome. I mean, it just leaves. back all welded in. I just need to finish metal finishing that. So just trying to make this transition here. So I got the outside welded in. Need to hammer and dolly the drip line to get it to match up a little bit. No big deal. I'm going to tack it on the inside corner here so it's stable. And then it's just a matter of closing that little gap. I'll probably get the saw and recut it and just hammer and dolly that in just a smidgy. Do a little final hammer and dolly. I think this side will be good. Man, that thing is hard to weld in there. Just a weird position. I think I'm going to tack that with the MIG. I think I'm going to tack that in there with the MIG. I haven't quite figured out how to TIG weld upside down yet. You're like a pack of monkeys in here. Alright, that'll work. That'll work for now. Definitely prefer to not MIG weld sheet metal, but sometimes you just don't have much of a choice. And the reason being is just, you know, the MIG adds so much material onto the surface of the metal that it's just more work to get it off, and then you cause more damage actually with the grinding and the warpage because of that. So TIG weld is definitely far, far superior, but you gotta use what you got, I guess. Well, that's just about close enough. Move on to the other side and get it all buttoned up and circle back at some point and do a little more metal fishing and everything. So this is why you don't want to MIG weld sheet metal. So right here is TIG welding. This is using an 025 wire, 18 gauge steel. And you get over here, I had to go to 035 because I had kind of a burn through there. But this here, I can sand out with an 80 grit, and pretty much there's virtually zero warpage. The main problem with the MIG welding is you can't control how much material goes into the weld because you can only fine tune it so much before it blows back into the gun. So you end up putting more material on top of your weld, which then requires you to grind that material off, and then you create heat and heat soak, and that actually creates more warpage than the welding probably did to begin with. Ultimately, TIG welding will save you probably 60 to 70% of your time by just having a much, much cleaner weld. You know, when I bought my first TIG welder, my Miller here, it was, I think I paid $2,000 for it, and that was 20 years ago. But you can get a MIG or a TIG welder for, geez, I don't know, a couple $100 at the crappy tool store. That'll at least get you through. So it's definitely worth the investment, even if you have to break down and sell some, you know, the wife's junk that she doesn't need, you know, to pay for it. It's going to be fine. It'll pay off in the long run. Trust me. Plus, the divorce attorney will, you know, absorb that anyway. Good enough for now. Now time for the back window. That's about right where we want it. This lip here, about 1 inch from here. I think this gives it the good flow. So now it's just a matter of marking where to cut it there, trim that piece out, and bada bing. Use my little caliper here. I'll take and score it so the cut line will match this cut line, and hopefully it should go back together the way it should. That'd be perfect. I decided to trim it here instead of here. That way I can just give this a little, and then we're gonna line up just fine. That's just about ready to weld. Let's make it permanent. Magnets are great where you can't clamp things. If I would just stop losing them, it'd be great. Beep. Right there. See that? Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. It's just that little guy that belongs there. Probably would have been easier to just split it in the middle and tie it back together, but what's done is done. There, got everything tacked in and ready to weld. Just need to DA real quick and ready to burn some metal there. So here on the pillar, you can see it doesn't quite line up as perfect as can be, but let me show you what I've discovered. Take your clamp, get it into the top, get it into the bottom, give it a squeeze. The outside edge now lines up, the inside lines up, so it's just a matter of working the front a little bit right here to get it to fit. So I'm going to work on that next. That makes things a heck of a lot easier. I'm glad I discovered that. I was going to cut everything apart, but not necessary. Don't make that mistake. So I went ahead and welded inside here. I haven't done the inside yet, but we'll get to that. Door closes nice. And then just a little bit of hammer with my plumb here. I was able to get that to line up perfect as can be. Man, talk about getting lucky with that. Just a little weld that there, and then feather that corner in, and the A-pillars are disco. So I'm just taking and tapping it in the normal reveal here, or the groove, bringing it in and mating them up. So far, works pretty good. Let me show you. See? I think it's ready to heat it back up. Almost. I built this edge up right here so it would flow better. I just need to hit that with the grinder and the DA and we're good. It's getting close. I'm going to run another little bead right there to clean it up. So hopefully it's invisible. Now I'll hit it with a little 80 grit with the sander, and that should all disappear, hopefully. So what I did here is a root pass, then ground all the little boogers off of there, and then did a finish pass, so in theory this should all just sand out. I'm a horrible welder, but you know, I try to improve. So my DA sander, yes, it's electric, not pneumatic. I have a pneumatic one, but I don't have any paper for it, so I got this. Works the same. Just a little 80 grit. And slowly sand this away, and it'll disappear. Well, not perfect, but it's good enough for the girls I go out with. So the question is do we start with the B pillar or do we start filling in the gap there? So with the moving the back around and moving the front around, what this does is it sort of tweaks the overall shape. So this doesn't line up exactly as it used to. It's changed just ever so slightly. So what I'm thinking is I'll fill, because this lines up here, so I'll build a filler piece for this here up to about here, and that will stabilize all that, and then I'll build a panel that goes from about here to about here, which will transition everything in a natural form. At least that's my guess. But maybe the B pillar first, so everything is stable. I don't know. Decisions. But that'll all be in the next episode. Thanks for watching.